Alright, so we're starting right now. Alright, hey guys, welcome to the first episode of What If It's Cool, the show where we talk about everything and anything and everything that is cool in the world today. And just like the wrestlers in the 1980s, I'm going to introduce you to my kayfabe cousin, Tim. Tim.
Thank you for the very warm introduction.
How are you holding up with the second lockdown?
Not too bad. Second lockdown working from home has its challenges, but I think like everyone, you sort of get over that. I mean, I've got a ton of stuff that I can do around the house, so that keeps me busy. Yourself?
Well, I'm still working, so I'm very blessed in that way that I can still work. But it just sucks, just being out there and yeah, it's just a little scary at the moment, but we'll get through it, I reckon. I hope.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So today we're going to be talking about. Well, Tim's going to be talking about. What was it again?
Oh, Extraction.
Yep. And,
yeah.
It was Gangs of London, was it?
Oh, yeah. That's right. Gangs of London.
I'm going to tackle two things as well. So one is Powerbomb. It was a movie that was recently released, and The Big Show, which is on Netflix. You want to go first, brother?
All right, yeah, why not? I'll give it a go. Okay, so Extraction is one of the latest straight to Netflix films that stars Chris Hemsworth. Don't really go into it expecting like high cinema, but if you're down for like a really old school style action film, it's one that's so easy to recommend. He plays a sort of washed up character who specializes in doing, you guessed it, extractions of people who are held hostage, travels to hotspots all around the world, clearly has a background in special forces. He gets to use his Aussie accent, which is, I think, a bonus. You don't really get many Aussie actors getting to do that once they've made it to Hollywood. But one of the main things that I thought was just incredible about it was just, it's stuff that you don't really get to see. And by that, I mean, for starters, it starts out in India. His character is in Australia. Then he has to go and rescue a hostage who has been captured in India but taken to Bangladesh. So it's really grimy, really gritty. And on top of that, you just have like a whole heap of action, and the action itself is incredible, really brutal. Like a lot of hand-to-hand combat. But the best part, and probably I think the main thing about the movie that gets a lot of publicity is, I think, a near 14-minute single take action sequence that takes place in the slums of Bangladesh. And yeah, like it's just pedal to the metal. It is absolutely insane. Starts out like in an apartment building. He starts taking out soldiers. He and this other guy who's trying to take the kid that he's been sent to Bangladesh to rescue. They end up falling over a balcony. They brawl in the streets. They get their knives out. And then like it ends with another car chase. It's brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant to see. And you sort of like in this day and age where the whole one take action sequence is, or even just one take anything, is sort of like a director trying to show off their skills. You just can't help but be amazed that this sort of level of filmmaking is around. You get to see so many. You're just trying to pick it apart, trying to figure out, is there was there a smart edit here somewhere, like where they sort of stopped it, but they try to make it still seem seamless. It's sort of like Daredevil in season 1. There's a one take fight sequence in a hallway, which is
one of
awesome.
the best things that Marvel's ever done. That hallway scene, like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh man. But was it the same thing? Was it like one, or is it, or it's clear that they've manipulated, like what they did with Birdman, for instance?
Sorry, what was that?
Remember how like remember Birdman, the one with Michael Keaton, where it was like,
I've
you haven't seen it?
I've never seen it. I don't know, like that
Oh,
one.
the whole
Yeah,
movie
like
is shot like it's in one take,
yeah,
like
yeah.
literally.
I've only ever seen one movie where it was done like that. I think it's a German film. Yeah, German. I think it's called Victoria. Um, kind of. Yeah. That look. I mean, uh, that was kind of cool in itself, but yeah, like I thought it was a complete gimmick, and then the story just didn't. It really didn't hold me that much. But like
Okay.
when they get to do it for action sequences, I think it's just it's fantastic, and it really just grips you. Like it ratchets up the tension incredibly well, and yeah, it just keeps like like when you've seen action films from the 80s, it does keep you on the edge of your seat. And yeah, that's why I was pretty amazed by this movie. It sort of does drop off after that, as some films tend to do. Like they need to spend some time doing a bit more exposition, or like drop some more character beats in there. So it does slow down. It does have David Harbour at that point, and I thought that was probably a bit of a needless scene. Look, again, I haven't really taken down enough notes on this, but yeah, it like all comes together with another explosive action finale, and yeah, for that reason alone, like sorry for the action alone, that's why I would definitely recommend it to fans of old school action cinema.
Is Chris Hemsworth's accent really noticeable? Because like remember like Django Unchained, for instance, where they put Aussie accents in there and it's so noticeable. Is it really noticeable in here, or does it actually have a good blend in it?
I don't think it's jarring at all. Yeah, like in Django, I remembered it, and I think that it sounded like they might have even leaned into it even more,
Oh no, that
just to
was
make it pop.
Quentin Tarantino's accent, because he really like sort of goes on, like really makes it ugly, and it's just terrible, absolutely terrible. But there was another movie called Killing Them Softly. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was an Aussie, and they halved it up so bad that so you can notice that he's an Aussie. And
Yeah,
I'm just scared because Hollywood does this all the time, where they half it up with this like the stereotypical accent, and you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, they're Australian. Oh, they're really Australian. But yeah, they
yeah,
haven't done this. Yeah, it's been great.
yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't find it distracting at all. I just thought it was a different sort of character. Has a bit of a BS ending. People will be like, how did that happen? Don't want to spoil it for you, but yeah, like I think it's so worth checking out. The next time you're free, definitely give it a go.
So it's on Netflix, yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
and I think it was the number one film on Netflix for a while. Whatever those metrics mean when Netflix released them.
The amount of people like it just and well, we're Filipino, so we can say this. It's just like it seems like Philos love this movie. Every like the moment it came out, so many of my friends, so many members of my family kept saying, "Oh, Extraction's the best movie." I'm just like, does it feature any Philos in it? Like does it, or what's going on? Because like it just seems weird that everyone is saying about this movie, and I don't think there's any Philos in it. But is there any Philos?
I, I don't think so. Like, but I sort of get what you mean. Like, I mean, my dad, he goes, "Oh, have you seen Extraction yet?" And I'm like, "No," and he goes, "Oh, it's very nice. It's a very very nice film." Um, but like Kathy and I had watched it, and then we recommended it to her sister
Yeah.
and her sister's boyfriend, and after they'd seen it, they go, "Yeah, it was a bit too gratuitous for us. Like, it was a bit much." And I was just like, I guess look, I guess it's not going to win everyone over, but yeah, I still found it. I still found it pretty incredible. Um, I just sort of think that in this day and age, you don't get movies like that and to see things like that, that are just so full on. You're like, yeah, I could really get into it. And bear in mind, this is coming from a person who really enjoys movies like The Raid 2. I mean, last year, one of my favorite films was The Night Comes for Us. This is like, if there's anything gratuitous, it's those sorts of movies.
Maybe, so out of a scale of, let's say, 1 to 5, how would you rate it?
Sorry, 1 to 5?
Yeah, we'll go 1 to 5 on this one.
Look, I'll give this one a 3.5.
All right. What's it? So before I watch it, like, what would it be a combination? Like, I'm guessing it'd be like a combination of like Commando / The Raid, probably mixing, I don't know, let's say In the Line of Duty with Donnie Yen, by the sound of it. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, look, I think yeah, definitely like Commando. It's not cheesy like that. But you could sort of mix in like a bit of Taken in there, because I mean, let's face it, after Taken came out, there were so many imitators. So, you know, like where it's different is that it's not an old man who's got a particular set of skills. It's Chris Hemsworth, just, jacked up and ready to kick everyone's ass.
So he's basically in the beast mode, was he?
He was, yeah. Not like to the level of Thor, but he was still pretty formidable in this, I'd say.
Okay. Well, in saying that, would this movie sort of shake off the Thor thing? Because like he tried to do it with Men in Black, but obviously that failed. Like, would this be something that people would now remember him for that, or are they still going to remember him for Thor?
I think they could, and yeah, just from what I was reading online, it proved to be that popular that they want to do a sequel for it.
Nice. All right.
Yep. I mean, whether he extracts the same kid again, who knows? But I think
maybe,
it could.
Maybe they'll just go the whole Taken out route. It'll be like another family member, and then someone's gonna die. Whoops, spoilers. But could be the same sort of format.
Well, exactly. I mean, Taken. First the daughter gets kidnapped, then in Taken 2, oh no, he sort of gets taken, but it's also his wife.
But then his wife died. His wife died in the third one, right? She got killed.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll definitely give that a shot. So I'm talking about a movie called Powerbomb. I remember I messaged you yesterday about this one. I thought it was going to be a doco because Matt Cross had put a post about, I think it was in January, and I saw it. He's like, "Oh, my movie's finally coming out," and he was mentioning, I was during my time when I was in NXT, Tough Enough and all that. It's like, okay, it's going to be a doco. Starts off. For people who don't know who Matt Cross is a wrestler who's currently under contract with NWA. He was with AEW for 2 matches and then went. And if you ever watch WWE, he was on the new version of Tough Enough, and he was the second to be eliminated. Right? Was he second or third?
I don't remember him.
Yeah. Oh, you don't remember him?
No.
Oh, the only reason I remember him because he was part of the Filth and Fury with Teddy Hart in Wrestling Society X, and they were the best tag team. Like the Lucha Brothers could easily tag against these guys. They would have fantastic matches if they had just stuck together. That's another story. So
Brilliant.
the movie, interesting enough about this movie, it was actually funded by Indigo. So a whole bunch of fans got together. They raised quite a bit of money. And this is one of the reasons why you don't cross horror and wrestling together. From the opening title is that he's going into a match, and they instead of using the real sounds of like the real kicks, real punches and everything, they dubbed it over with a whole bunch of like when you grab somebody like that, right? This is the sound like that. It was pop pop. When they got hit, it was like delayed every second, was like, and then it was even absolutely shocking. And even like a super kick, it didn't even sound like a kick. It just sounded like hitting a bag of sand. So immediately I thought, okay, we got another pro wrestlers versus zombies. But it's got some cameos from some wrestlers in this one. It's got Adam Cole, who makes a brief cameo as a promoter. What's her name? Hang on, let's bring her up. Ronnie Jonah, who's another independent wrestler. She plays Matt Cross's wife, and the lovely Britt Baker. Oh, sorry, Dr. Britt Baker, who I love. I know you don't like her, but she's actually really good in it, and she's actually the standout for me in this movie. Because she's very believable to be that ex wrestler who is down in the luck. And what's ironic is she got injured recently with her leg. In this movie, exact same thing. I'm just like they were saying like what was wrong with her, and I'm just sitting there giggling, thinking, "Oh my gosh, this actually happened to her in real life." But
Well,
the only difference is that she can go back to wrestling after this.
Yeah, her life imitating this art.
Exactly. But Matt Cross is actually pretty good as an actor. The only problem is this whole movie it's trying to be a horror movie, but it comes off more as a comedy. So basically, the whole story is Matt Cross is still wrestling indies, trying to get to, they don't say it's WWE, but you know that's what they're talking about. And his wife was a former wrestler. She doesn't want to wrestle anymore because they've got a kid. Blah 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 blah. Fan ends up stalking him, and when he finds out that Matt doesn't want to be a wrestler anymore, kidnaps him, puts him in the basement, does all that. The main problem with this movie, the guy who's the stalker, he sounds like Patton Oswalt, so that really obnoxious kind of voice, and it's just terrible. It's terrible acting. Look, if you're a wrestling fan, you probably get a kick out of it. Like, there's some bits where I'm just going, okay, that's okay, that's funny, but it's just as a whole, this movie sucks. Like, the trailer made it look like it was going to be like this really good film. But you ever seen WrestleMania? Do you remember that?
No, I've never seen that.
Okay, it's kind of like that bad cheesiness and really terrible just acting. But look, if you just want to kill an hour or hour and 10 minutes, put it on, watch it. But don't go in expecting it's going to be Stephen King, because it's more like I was going to say it's more like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, but Killer Clowns from Outer Space is actually pretty good. But yeah, I couldn't recommend this one.
All right, so yeah, you'd probably what would you give it out of 5 then?
1.5. I would have given it like no stars, but Brett Baker and Matt are actually really good in it. Like it's actually believable, like their acting. Just everything else is terrible, absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well. Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things that you run the risk of when you watch these wrestler movies. Like, I mean, everything that's come from WWE films has been pretty much awful.
Evil was pretty good, and the Condemned was pretty alright.
I remembered watching The Marine in the cinemas and thinking, this is like, why did I even waste money doing this? And then I went back to watch The Marine 2, 3, 4, and I think the latest one. The latest one with Becky Lynch and Shawn Michaels, I actually liked. That one I would have to.
That one yet.
Yeah, so that one was pretty cool. But yeah, there isn't a lot that they've done that's very memorable. Although I will say that Eliminators was probably one of my favorite ones, but that's because it's got Scott Adkins and he kicks ass.
Yeah, you love Scott Adkins. Like, was it Ninja? The one you were recommending for me to watch?
Ninja 2.
Ninja 2, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone's like, I haven't seen Ninja 1 yet. It doesn't matter.
You don't have to watch
you can
Ninja
skip
1.
Ninja 1. You just go to Ninja 2, Shadow of a Tear, and you'll find probably another perfect action movie there.
It's kind of like Blade and then Blade 2, where you don't necessarily need to watch the first one to get it. Like, it just like sums up everything, or it just like goes straight into it, and it's a better movie
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Blade 2 is a lot better than Blade 1.
One, 2 words: Stephen Dorff. That's all I'm gonna say.
And the shoddy special effects from when he turned into the Blood God.
Oh man, they can star on that. Oh, like I remember watching it for the first time. I think it was like it was either 2000 or 2001. I watched it after its release, and I remember even then I'm thinking this looks crap. Like, oh, they got to admit, but Blade Two was a hell of a film, and then they made Blade Trinity, and well, we all know what happened there. I mean, it had
Yeah, that's yeah.
Triple H for God's sakes. I mean,
Triple H holding I think holding a Pomeranian.
yeah, that's right. It was a Pomeranian. That was a vampire as well.
That was probably my favorite memory from that. But Ryan Reynolds was pretty good in it.
Yeah, but he's playing Ryan Reynolds. Like there's no difference in any character he's done at that point. It's all the same thing. Just he's jacked up and he's killing vampires.
You don't need Ryan Reynolds to be anything but Ryan Reynolds. He's fine as he is.
Well, think of what was that movie he did? What was it? Buried? Is it Buried? The one where he eventually gets buried? Is that the one?
Oh yeah.
The claustrophobic one.
Was,
He was really good in that, and I was
yeah.
really surprised. But man, I had to to watch the last probably 10 minutes of that with the lights on. I couldn't handle it. I'm not claustrophobic, but that really made me claustrophobic watching that thing. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a movie that's set in one location, that one was pretty gripping.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Right.
what TV shows? Well, what TV show were you watching recently?
Well, this is one that I actually wrote notes for, so if you'll just bear with me.
Yeah.
I was I just finished watching Gangs of London. So Gangs of London is created by Gareth Evans, who is the director of The Raid and The Raid 2.
Wonder why I watched it.
So yeah, exactly. I mean, with a pedigree like that, of course I was going to watch it.
Well, I think your camera's frozen.
Sorry?
I think your camera's just frozen.
Oh, hang on one sec. Probably because.
Yep, there we go.
There we go.
He's back.
All right. So, yes. Yes, as I was saying, with a pedigree like that, of course I was going to watch this show. But he created it. He's directed a couple of episodes. I think the first two, from what I saw on IMDb. The rest were directed by a guy named Xavier, and I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of the surname, but I think it's Gens, Gens. So I looked him up on Wikipedia, and the last movie of his that I actually saw was the first Hitman adaptation with Timothy Olyphant. And he also directed a movie which did get a... Hey?
That's the one where like he had a bomb in his chest, like the opening was a bomb. He had a bomb in his chest. He had his arms and legs cut off,
right? I can't remember that much. I do remember a really cool knife fight scene on a train between him and other agents. Yeah. And also Olga Kurilenko. Yeah. Do you remember Olga Kurilenko?
The name rings a bell. Just trying to think who that is.
She was a Bond girl, so she was in Quantum of Solace.
That was the one that was in Max Payne, the one who was the sister of Millie Obvious, right?
I haven't seen Max Payne. I don't know. Like I was meant to get around to it, but I heard it was pretty crap, so I decided not to watch it.
Just if you play the game, forget everything you know about the game, go in it and just accept it for what it is, like I did, and it's a pretty enjoyable film.
All right. Okay.
It's not going to win Oscar.
Yeah. Look, I mean, the guys that directed the episodes of this, it's a pretty short series. It's 9 episodes, so it's a very unusual number. So it was, we talked about the Xavier fellow, but also a guy called Corin Hardy. And yeah, I was looking up his resume, and the only thing that I've seen was The Nun, which I quite liked. Um, so definitely after having seen The Raid 2, and because it had been quite some time since Gareth Evans had done anything of note, and I don't really count Apostle. I thought that was a bit of a weird one on Netflix. Yeah, I decided to give this a go. The story is, so the patriarch of the most powerful crime family in London is murdered. Um, as a result of that, his eldest son has to take over as head of the family. There is a power vacuum, so several other crime families that they were basically managing are seeking to basically, wrest control from this family, the Wallace family. And meanwhile, there's also an undercover cop who's trying to infiltrate the Wallace family and try to find out what sort of things they're involved in. So you've got your sort of typical stuff there. Like some shades of Infernal Affairs or The Departed with the undercover cop trying to infiltrate the organization. And my first impressions were that I was pretty impressed by the overall quality of the show. It's very, very stylish, very slick. It just oozes so much cool. It has a lot of quality drama to it with some incredible action. And just to name a few of the scenes that I'd seen in it, there's a barroom brawl in the first episode, just horrific with the stuff that they've done in terms of breaking bones. I think one dude even gets spiked when they get punched. They sort of fall down and do a headstand, which is pretty incredible. There's a filthy fight that they have where the undercover cop sees this guy who's basically cutting up bodies, and that guy who's cutting up the bodies is just wearing his underwear, so he has to take him on. That's pretty disgusting.
Well, like Jean-Claude Van Damme and Time Cop sort of thing.
I don't remember that, but yes, it was like this. This was pretty grimy. Like it was a very seedy sort of, very seedy apartment that they were in, and yeah, I mean, it just looked disgusting. There's a siege episode which has this force of I think Danish hitmen. They're trying to break into this farmhouse. That kind of reminded me of a bunch of Western movies, or even Assault on Precinct 13. So a lot of this stuff is stuff that you may have already seen. The fight scenes themselves, a lot of that is basically transplanted from what Gareth Evans had done in Indonesia he's transplanted it to the streets of London. But while I was watching it, I just sort of found that the characters overall could use some work. In terms of the main family, I wasn't particularly interested, or I didn't really care for them as characters. There's only really one out of the crime families that I thought was really interesting. She's a female actress. She was in a movie called Under the Shadow, really, really good Iranian film. She plays, can't remember where she's from, but yeah, basically the drugs that she sells, the money that she gains from that, she sends back to her home country to fund the freedom fighters there. I would have liked to have seen, because I was more interested in her as a character, I would have liked to have seen more of her and see, if she would have ended up assuming the throne as it was throughout this show. And
it's going to be a miniseries, or is it going to be season 2 where that possibility might happen?
Well, I just found out that there is going to be a season 2.
Okay.
So yeah, potentially she might come back even more powerful. Who knows? But that's the thing. I mean, throughout maybe the last 3 or 4 episodes, so yeah, the back end of the season, they just kept ramping things up, kept ramping up, and you're thinking, shit, how is this going to resolve itself? And there's definitely a literal explosion that happens that sort of triggers the final set of events, but the last episode I found sort of went out with a whimper. I was really, really disappointed after I'd seen it. I was like, shit, I've invested 9 hours of my time in watching this show, and like I wasn't that satisfied with how they left things so unresolved. And I probably would have been happier if they'd like another TV show that I'd been watching. What they'd done with their seasons is they'd tell a self-contained story for the entire season.
Yeah.
They wouldn't leave too many things unresolved. They'd leave things open, sure, but it wasn't like, say, on the level of like something that I'd watched recently, like Westworld, where they leave you with more questions than answers at the end of each season, which is incredibly frustrating. So like I think that with Gangs of London, they kind of shit the bed with the ending.
Well, at least
But
we know there's going to be a season 2, so maybe that might be the next. Maybe they'll build it up. But it's a UK production, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was a bit confused with it because it said it was sort of done through Cinemax, which had like TV shows like Strike Back and Banshee. Banshee being one of my favorite TV shows.
No, that's a show right there.
It is. It absolutely is. But I don't know if it's going to continue with Cinemax. But look, it's getting a second season, and like I've been hooked on it, so I'm probably going to stick around for it, the second season at least.
Oh, nice. Oh, you can't. I just realised your camera's done it again.
Hang on. All right. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Wonder how long that was going for. Yeah, no, but that's so it's a Cinemax production. So, oh man, yeah, that's. They always. It always seems like their stuff is. It's always a hit and a miss with Cinemax for some reason. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think the last show of theirs that I watched was Warrior, and I was hoping that was going to be pretty awesome because it was like a East meets West type Western, and it was supposedly influenced by a lot of ideas that Bruce Lee had left before he passed. But,
so like
I don't know,
it was a modern day kung fu, was it?
sort of.
Yeah.
Like it was about the Tong Wars, so like the Chinese gangs in Chinatown back during the Gold Rush, and that was like it had a very interesting premise and definitely some potential, but I just didn't really, but sort of similar to this Gangs of London, like I didn't like how it ended, but it's okay. Like when they get second, like maybe when they enter their sophomore efforts, like when they have a second season, that's when they sort of work out the iron out any sort of kinks in the storytelling, and then they probably just needed to get more confidence.
Okay. What would you rate it?
So if I was to compare Gangs of London to Banshee, and so like if you were to go from a scale of 1 to Banshee, I'd probably like put this on the lower end. I'd probably give this about a 2.5.
2.5. Oh, I mean, just considering what you just said, I think that's pretty good. I mean, sure the ending sucks, but there's a whole lot of pretty good there.
Yeah, it's really sort of hard for me to recommend as well. I wouldn't be able to wholeheartedly convince someone to watch it.
Well, what would
I think it's really only
intended audience you reckon who would want to watch it?
Well, I guess like people who just like crime dramas, crime dramas and they don't get sort of easily turned off by really violent stuff because they tend to punctuate some of the stuff that's unfolding with like incredibly violent scenes. But yeah, like again, like it's a tough one. I mean, like yeah, if you're not turned off by like hardcore violence, then yeah, you could probably enjoy it, especially if you want a gangster show.
But if you're gonna say that it's gangster, so would someone who loves, like, say, The Sopranos, would they enjoy something like this?
Maybe.
But let's be honest. The Sopranos is completely different, but like if it's got that sort of feel, the gangster element, I reckon. Just from what you're saying, it sounds like it could be like Europe's version of what is essentially The Sopranos.
Well, I think that Gangs of London is. I don't think it would. I don't think it would ever measure up to The Sopranos. But for anyone who saw the Raid 2 and liked the gangster elements to that, is because that was a pretty epic story in the Raid 2. Like it really changed things in terms of what they went for with the first one, which was just all out action. The second one, even though it had a lot of that stylized action, it was definitely more gangster tale.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I think that's what Gangs of London is basically trying to be, but it can't really quite measure up to it.
Fair, that's fair enough. But on the scale, it just prompted me when you were saying that because you hated the ending of season one. Is it as bad as the ending of the actual Sopranos?
Mm,
Because that was pretty
no, not
annoying.
as no. It wouldn't be. It wouldn't be as jarring as that. No.
Okay.
This one, yeah, just like a lot of, I don't know, like there's a real curveball thing that they had towards the end. And it sort of leaves you just feeling like, what is this? And also like, character that you think is dead is suddenly alive, and
Yeah.
someone who didn't really matter to begin with, like, who you saw very, very little of throughout the season. Like she's suddenly going to be a major player in the second season. Yeah, it was weird. Again, it's really hard for me to even
It's piquing
recommend
my
this one.
interest actually. I'm thinking about that one because I do like the odd gangster thing, and I did like the Raid too. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, that does sound good. I reckon. Um, so my last thing I want to talk about, again, it's going to be another wrestling element, but then again, we're wrestling fans. I mean, it's inevitable. And this is the funny thing. In America, they were talking about it a lot. Um, Here in Australia, I don't think anyone really gave a crap because wrestling isn't as big as it is in the States. But what I want to talk about is the Big Show, which stars Paul the Big Show Wright. Um, Now, what's interesting about this one, it is produced by WWE, but funny enough, you know how like you had the recent movie, I think it was called The Main Event with The Miz. There's another Netflix show, not Netflix movie, and they actually filmed it in the Performance Center. This one's like a full-on sitcom, but they actually have they go out into certain sets as well. They don't actually film it in the Performance Center, and essentially the story is Big Show is retired, trying to raise his kids. He has three daughters and a wife who's a real estate agent. Um, if you saw the trailer, you would think, okay, this is going to be another tacky, uh, you know, really tacky family sitcom, and it is. But I don't know. I mean, I come from an era, and so do you, but where it's you love that kind of you can't love that kind of stuff. Where it's kind of like a step by step meets Full House, and
Hmm.
like it's got so many cheesy nuggets in every single episode. Um, and once you sort of get over that hurdle, you sit there and really enjoy it. Like the biggest thing about it is the girls the girls who play his daughters. One name is Raylene Casper. The other one is Lee Brooks O'Brien, and the youngest one who steals the show through the entire season of it, Juliet Donnell. Um, they they could just really just do the show with them. Like it's actually they actually really are they're really funny, especially the youngest. But I think it's a trait in American sitcoms, especially family sitcoms, where the youngest is like a super genius slash a little bit evil. Um,
Yeah.
like, like the running gag is that she so JJ, who's the youngest daughter, she's always dressing up as Gru from Despicable Me for Halloween, and they later bring it back into another episode where she's around all these kids and they ask for bananas, so like the minions, which is kind of funny, but it's just like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing there. Like most shows or movies that are produced by, let's say, a company like say Sony or in this case WWE, there is a lot of subtle product placement. In one episode, there's an NWO shirt, and it was like, oh my god, I remember having one of those. Or they've got like Rey Mysterio's mask, or they've got what was it? Oh, they had the undisputed championship. You remember that? The really
Yep. Yep.
the gold and black belt. And they bring that back a couple of times. And for me, it's kind of like it's really great. I wish that was actually his actual title. I think it was a remake because it looks like it actually fitted over his stomach for a change. And remember when he was old, undisputed champion, he wasn't. He was a lot thinner. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that's his world championship. Um, but one of the biggest things is like you can actually believe Big Show being like that with his kids. It's like he's a really family man in this one, and yeah, I really liked it for what it was. Like if you're a wrestling fan, you get a kick out of this because like there's always these little nuggets in every episode where they mention something like they'll mention Mick Foley, they'll mention Vince or the Vince or their or something there, and you get a bit of a kick out of it. The best episode though is the seventh episode because it's only an 8 episode series. Mick Foley, Mark Henry, and Rikishi make a cameo,
Yeah.
and those three can have a sitcom, I reckon, if they wanted to. Like
Yeah.
Mark Henry is quite possibly one of the funniest. Um, I wish he did more comedy stuff. He was actually really funny. Like remember Sexual Chocolate and how he really ran them
Uh-huh.
up. Yeah, it's funnier than that when he's on there. So
Yeah.
yeah, like this
Yeah.
one, if I was give this one, I'd give it a 3. Just for
Mm-hmm.
nostalgia, but only wrestling fans would like this. Um, I don't think if you were just a regular, sitcom fan, I don't think they would like it. It's just one of those shows where you have to be in the know to understand a lot of the references that they do. But
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
oh,
Hmm. So yeah, I guess when it comes to some shows that I watch, I like while I tend to enjoy a lot of B grade action, sometimes watching something that's quite wholesome or something that's lighthearted, uh, it could be just the thing that you need, just to lift your mood, lift your spirits, just to just to have a bit of a laugh. And like this sounds like potentially if I've got nothing to do, like it could be something that I might actually enjoy if I watched it.
I reckon you would.
Um, yeah, yeah,
It's one of the ones where you can because it's only 8 episodes. And this is what's more funny about it, because they haven't said anything since it's been released. On Netflix it says part one, not season one, part one. So whether that means there's more episodes coming or whatever,
yeah.
there's no news about it. I've been waiting for them to announce what's happening next. I even tweeted the actresses in it, and all she did was like the tweet. That's it. She didn't respond. So I'm just thinking, okay, this is all hush hush. So I'm hoping there's going to be more episodes because these were filmed before Big Show before he had the 6 pack. Like he's still pretty big in this.
Yeah.
Like the last episode, he's back in his ring attire, and you can tell he's still got the gut. And this is way before he lost all that weight. So chances are,
Hmm.
they're film more episodes. I'm hoping.
Well, on like I remembered when I was still watching it, there was a show called the Ranch, Ashton Kutcher's one on Netflix,
Is that
and
still
they
going?
aired that in. I think it's finished now, especially. I think it ran its course, but they also, they would have had all that negative press because of what's his name?
Danny, whatever.
Danny, I think Danny Masterson.
That's it.
Yeah. Evil dude, but yeah, with the with the way that they released it, they would release it in parts. So you'd have your first part of season 1 and the second part.
Mm.
So the Big Show could be following that same sort of pattern.
I hope so, because it's like we need more shows like this right now, where it's like it's campy, it's cringeworthy, but you can sit there and just watch it with the whole family. There's not many
Yeah,
shows like that right now on there, unless it's like Peppa Pig or Sesame Street. I mean, but how many people can actually sit there as a family and watch it? Like those are the only two things that come to mind when I think of like family viewing. I can't think of anything at the moment that's really even remotely like that right
yeah,
now.
yeah. All right, okay. All right. Well, maybe the next time I've finished a show on Netflix, I'll go and give that one a go.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, we're pretty much done, but I do want to talk about something because we are wrestling fans. The Spring Stampede match at AEW's Double or Nothing.
Oh yes.
What?
Stadium.
What a great concept! Like seriously, they're killing it right now. Like everything they're doing at the moment is just gold. And that.
Yep.
I mean, did you like? The only negative thing I could say about it is it more promoted the elite than it did the inner circle. So there was some high spots for the inner circle, but it really wasn't for them. But Matt Hardy just that whole pool scene.
Yes. I don't know the background behind that, but I think they kept referring to it as like the water of reincarnation.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
yeah, like how it just pop out and it'd just be like a different version of Matt
But
Hardy. That was
it was
classic.
like Matt Hardy Team Extreme, then it was Matt Hardy version 1, then it was Won't Die Matt Hardy, and
Big
then
Money. Okay. I thought it was Big Money Matt, but
sorry,
yeah,
Big
like I
Money
liked
Matt.
how
Sorry, yeah.
I liked how they had like the Matt facts, and then Santana and Ortiz were looking in the sort of vague direction of where the Matt facts would appear, just completely bewildered and puzzled. But yeah, even like just everything about it. I think cinematic matches, and especially in light of what's going on in the world today, it's a perfectly viable option for the wrestling industry to continue. Certainly where big companies like WWE and AEW are concerned, where they've actually got they've got the resources to continue filming product. But yeah, that Stadium Stampede, absolutely incredible. One of my mates said that there was like a video game type reference. So I think it's Santana might have Irish whipped Kenny Omega into a corridor, but then like it just cuts to like when he appears like in another area of the stadium. They said that that's very
I
similar to
didn't
some of the
notice that,
2K
but
games.
I'll have to rewatch and have a look. It's like because some guys at work would tell me all these things. I didn't get it. Like maybe because I don't watch AEW enough to sort of get a lot of this stuff. But then there was like heaps of stuff that they're saying that they were doing in New Japan. I'm just going. I watched them at New Japan. I didn't remember anything sort of stuff because apparently the Bucks were doing some. I don't know, some gimmick they were doing before they were in the Bullet Club. I was like, I don't remember that. Did you
Okay,
get
all
any
right.
things like that?
Nah, like I mean, like I've only, as we continue doing these episodes, you know, my love for wrestling has only been recently sort of rekindled, like as in the last 2 years. So there's a whole heap of wrestling history that I'm not aware of when it comes to these guys like the Young Bucks and what have you. But just so many things in that entire match. Just it was just spectacular. And I think that as far as storytelling goes, the Elite definitely needed the win. Because yeah, like, if it had gone to plan and they did blood and guts, it probably would have gone a very different direction. And like they did tease like Hangman Page, having a bit of a heel turn, but because blood and guts didn't get to air, they've probably gone off on a different tangent. And I mean, people love him as the drunken badass anyway. So yeah, he'll probably stay on that character for a while.
I think I remember when I was watching a little bit of New Japan, hated Hangman Page, hated him, didn't like him.
Okay.
Wasn't until the Battle Royal for All Out. No, was it All In? When
Yeah.
he was going to have a match with Park, and then he ended up being the Joker card. I don't know what it was, but I became a fan after that. I don't know why I sort of did a 180 on him. Like, I look at him now and just going, he has everything I like in a wrestler, but I don't know why I didn't like him. I just don't know why.
Yeah.
I get like a Stone Cold vibe from him. Do you?
I'm sort of getting that vibe as well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, maybe it's like, not so much the whole DTA or, Austin 316 or, stomping a mud hole, but yeah, like he definitely, like, he just hits like I think JR says it, like he just hits like country hard and all that sort of thing. And yeah, like, he's just a badass.
Yeah.
But I did like his, like the almost Jackie Chan style fight scene that he and Kenny Omega had against Jake Hager
The bar fight when they
in the bar. That was so good.
I say what you will about him. Jack Hager is one of the most underrated wrestlers out there, and he can work any match. And I remember when I saw that one bit, I was like, thank you. Finally, someone knows how to work with his strengths. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I just wish WWE did something like this with him, but they dropped the ball with him.
Well, I mean, they dropped the ball with a lot of people. Just like, recently, like all the people that have been let go. I don't know if you saw the link that I forwarded you earlier, but EC3, he had this really cool video that he shot, and from what I read, he released it just as his, maybe like a minute after his no compete clause from his WWE contract finished, and that just looked incredible. Like it really,
Do you reckon we're going to
gives
see
you.
him at Summerversary tomorrow morning?
I hope. I think. Look, I don't know about his career in Impact, but I was told he was pretty huge there.
He was.
So
he was the John Cena. Well, I'd say he was more like the CM Punk of Impact. Like he was.
Okay.
He just he did his own thing, and he was fantastic.
I think, look, it could be good if he went there, but I reckon at the rate that they're killing off all the monsters in AEW, like it wouldn't hurt if they added him into the mix as well, because I think he'd be pretty intimidating there. Look, even a foil for let's say Cody.
Yeah, I'd love to see
but,
that.
Yeah, like so, even if he did go back to Impact, I would like it if he was in AEW personally.
Well, the Good Brothers are now been confirmed they're at Impact. They confirmed that this morning.
Yeah.
Sucks because I really want them just to go back to New Japan and be part of the Bull Club again, but it is what it is. Hopefully that this is like a cross promotion, because they did do that a long time ago where Impact was doing stuff in New Japan. So fingers crossed
Okay.
that's what they're going to be doing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We can only wait and see. And I mean, as it is right now, they've had to severely limit whether crowds can even attend these events. And yeah, I mean, like international travel is pretty much a no-go right now. So
Yeah,
it'll be a while before we see any sort of normality happen when it comes to these cross-promotional things.
yeah. What is what it is. All right, well, we'll cut it a day for that one for today. One thing I wanted to remind you of, I still have this.
So on. Oh yes.
That's sitting. That's it.
I,
So if people are listening, I've got the Rey Mysterio, The Life of a Masked Man DVD set. I bought this for 10. Oh, way before COVID. The week that we were meant to catch up, that's when we all went into lockdown in Melbourne. So, well, I was like,
look,
I hope he hasn't bought
bro.
another one because I've got it.
No, I haven't. I haven't bought another one. No, I definitely did not forget about that. But yes, like it'll have to wait until after lockdown has ended.
Yeah,
In I think what is it, 4 weeks? But like at this
we've
rate, we're
got
probably
5 more
gonna
weeks.
enter another
No, hang on.
lockdown.
Yeah, we've got 5 more weeks right now. But they're saying that it might be extended, but we don't know yet. But then considering that today was like half of what it was yesterday, fingers crossed it gets better. So yeah,
Fingers crossed. We can only hope that things start dying down in terms of numbers. But yeah, like we'll just have to wait and see.
yeah. All right. Well, all right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us. We will be back eventually. We just don't know when because we've got to plan out next. And hopefully we might have some more guests. Hopefully, if they want to be part of it. Because I haven't asked the other two yet, to be honest.
uh, yeah, like I think you know what I think they'd be keen.
Yeah. We'll see what
Yeah, I
happens.
think they'd be keen. Yeah, you got to throw out the invite. I'm pretty sure they would have a lot of fun with this, and it's a great way for us to keep in touch. So yeah,
Yeah. Plus, we wouldn't have to pay a musician for any music because we just get Ziggy to do his thing on it.
yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, mate. I'll see you soon.
All right, bro. Thanks for organizing this. Talk to you
All
soon.
right. Take care.
All right, see you. Bye.